Hi guys, it's Amy with Aim to Plan, and I am here with an Organize with me. I'm going to be breaking down this planner. So I have got my work planner in its normal setup. This is the planner that I use to have both my past months for 2022 as well as my future months for 2022. What I do is basically have the future months, the months that I haven't used yet because it's basically for April onward, at the very front. And so what I have been using is a vertical lined layout that looks like this. It is outdated, so I have been redating it for work. And I have pretty much 12 months. And then at the back, I do have my pages for, if I can find a page, like I only have, I think, only 1 month in here. So I have in the very back January. I didn't even label it, so that's why I couldn't find it. But I do have January. I use the monthly to basically track my hours. And then I have like the lined vertical, just using it to track notes. Now, one of the things that is happening in April, basically starting in April and going into the fall semester, is that we are switching into a new system at work. And so basically, to make the long story short, everything is going to be moving into digital for work for me. And so I already have a lot of my teaching notes online. And now we're going to be moving a huge portion of the rest of my job, which is advising students, also online. And so it just makes it less efficient for me to use a paper planner for some of those things. And so what I'm going to be doing is breaking down this planner. I've decided starting in April for second quarter of the year, I will be transitioning straight into digital planning for my work. And so I'll have a couple of notes in my personal planner, but mostly everything for work will just live online. And so if you want a video on that, I can certainly do that and kind of talk you through my process of what I will be doing for that. But what that means is I basically need to break down this planner. And so because I have a couple of pieces in here that are things that I've used, that they need to go somewhere, and then the pieces that are not used, they need to go somewhere else. And so I'm just going to break down the entire planner and kind of talk to you about where things go and how I organize and store like a planner, and you can just kind of watch me go through the entire process. So with all of that backstory out of the way, let's just get right into it. I always start off when I break down a planner. The way that I do it is I store everything, like all the components, separately. So covers get stored separately, discs get stored separately, dividers get stored separately, and then used pages get stored separately, unused pages get stored separately. So like they all go in like separate little like homes essentially. And so what I'm going to do is, since I already took off the covers, right now I just like to pull everything off the discs. I actually enjoy the noise of the papers coming off the disc, but I know some people don't. Okay, so that's that. I didn't fast forward through that just because I feel like this is going to be, I think, a fairly short video. Most of it will just be me explaining where it goes. So again, covers are pulled apart. That will go into my covers box. Discs will go into the disc storage that I have. I do sort my discs by color. And so that is that. And then now this divider is actually the divider that's supposed to mark April. And so the divider's unused. And so since it's an unused divider, I set it to the side. And then what I'm going to do is, since I have one divider, I'm going to go through and look at all of the dividers just to kind of put everything together that's unused. And I do this every single time I break down a planner. And so one thing that I do a little bit differently is if there are current dates in a planner, I do kind of set aside like unused current or like future months, like that are not like outdated. I set that into a separate pile too, but pretty much that's the only pile that I'm not going to have today. But everything else will pretty much be exactly how I break down like even like a clearance planner. I bought a couple just the other day. This is how I would break it down. I break it down by covers, by discs, by dividers, and then by pages. And again, like for me, I separate pages into like specific categories, which I'll kind of run through in just a second. All right, so these are all the dividers. I am checking to make sure that I haven't used them on the back. So that way they can all kind of, if I had organized it like this, it'd be a little bit easier. All right, so divider, okay. I have other dividers in here, but I already cut the tab off. So like this, I consider that in use because I did cut the divider tab off. And so it can't be used as a divider, if that makes sense. Right, so now this is just a stack of like pages. Okay, and so I have these dividers. Again, dividers go into a separate section. I have like an entire shelf that is just like dividers like this, unused on the back. And you know, they just get put on the stack like that. And so now I just have the pages. Now, again, I organize into basically 3 main areas for my pages. I will have a section for used pages, pages that I've already used. They are pretty much old pages, right? Like pages for previous months. So I have a pile for that. Then I do have a pile, and I won't have it in this video, but it will be for unused pages that are like still current. So it's going to be for a future month that hasn't come past yet. So like if I had, for example, April 2022, it would go into an unused but still current pile. And then the third pile are unused pages, but that they are outdated. So again, used pages, unused pages still current, and then unused pages that are outdated. And then I do have a fourth category, which aren't planner pages, but they're going to be basically notes. And so everything that is like not planner pages, used planner pages, or unused planner pages go into that fourth pile. So perfect example are going to be these dividers that I ended up cutting the tab off of. In fact, I went through and redated these so that way they're current. So this is actually August 2022. I found some old dividers and picked out the dates that worked, and that's why I cut off the tab, is because I didn't want the tabs to be in the wrong order, but I did want it to be an August month. And so I redated basically the month and just whited out the year here. And so these are still they're still current, and so I'm going to put them in the unused and current pile. I was thinking I didn't have any pages there, but I do have some. Okay, so that's the first one. And then I have these pages. These are definitely outdated, and so they are all outdated. They're from like 2020, and so that will go here. I'm going to flip it actually this way so that way they kind of stay in order. And so I'm just going to run through and do the same thing for all of these. Right, so this should be September. And again, because I redated it, it is September 2020. And then I have the lined vertical pages here that are unused. Okay, that goes there. All right, and then I have October right there. And then October, the lined vertical pages. When I do this sorting out, because it's basically one single planner, all the pages, the planner pages that are unused, are the same. But sometimes I do kind of like Frankenplan even within a single planner, and so I have to break it down even further. But what I do is put them into the initial piles, and then when I go through to sort them out, and put them on the shelf where I store everything, then I go through and just split them out again. So I'll split out this pile of outdated even another time, so that way everything's sorted by like lined vertical versus actually I have an example right here. Okay, so these pages, I'll just pause right here. These pages right here are all lined vertical from the same planner. Okay, so they're all like the squad goals lined vertical, and so they are all lined vertical. And then I have just randomly, because I decorated this page, right? So I did decorate it, but it is unused. I didn't actually write in it. So actually I should probably put this into the used. It's unused though. I don't know how to categorize this. So I'm going to set this to the side right here into this like miscellaneous one, and just keep going. All right. So right now I'm just collecting basically squad goals pages. And so those all go there. All right. And then I had a couple of like, it looked like random pages. Then we go into this section, and these are like notes pages. Okay. So this ends up in this pile, right? That goes there. And I do go through again, like for pretty much all of these piles, and resort them just to make them even more organized. But this initial kind of, okay, these are the news pages. I have to kind of check them this way just because there potentially are some notes in there. I do re-sort them again. So these are the January pages that are in use. So I'll set that right there. And then just to keep these in order, because I know I did like make some of these current, I'm going to set this just down a little bit. And then these are the April pages. Because I was pulling out the dividers, I kind of resorted it. But these are the start. Okay, so that's April monthly. I made a copy of a big size planner, and so that is current. And then this is the beginning of it where the April kind of starts. Okay, now back to where I'm going. And when I pull out outdated pages, I don't worry about these pages being in order. So I'm just going to stack them right on top of here like this. So that doesn't really matter to me. But I lost my train of thought. I have no idea where I was going. This is the printed copy, and then this should be May. Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea what I was saying right before this, but like some of these are upside down. I feel like I recall doing that to kind of redate the month as well, but at this point, it's just all outdated pages that I don't plan to use. So I can just return them back to their home, right? And this is June, the June monthly that I made a copy of. And then here's the June that I redated. One thing that I do, again, like I do resort. I think that's where I was kind of going with this conversation. But I do resort them, so I'll show you a little bit of that in just a second. Okay, and these are all the pages. Okay, so now I have all these piles. This should be July, and then this should start August. So I will probably, yeah, that's August, and it goes through I think December, right? So these are April through December monthlies essentially, and I'll probably actually keep this and use this still for work. I do like to log my hours, even though, you know, like everything's going digital. I did move my work hours to digital as well. Again, like everything's moving digital, but I like to keep track of that. I don't know why. Maybe I'll just get rid of it or use it in some other setting. But so these are just monthlies that I have redated to be current. So I'm going to set that to the side because I could probably use that in a different planner, and I just have to make a decision for that. This is a single weekly spread that I did decorate. I might just use it for the last week of March. Okay, so I'm gonna make the decision now to move this into my current March Frankenplanner and use this for one of my weeks in work. So I'll set that over there. And then this is notes. I have a separate section for notes pages. These I did cut down to size to be classic size, but they came from a tool planner that was the letter size. And so I did cut these down for just notes pages. And in fact, I think I may or may not keep it, but for the time being, I will keep it, but I'm trying to think if I should use it in my current planner. But for the time being, I think I'll just put it on the shelf and use this when I need to. So I do have a section for just note paper, and so I'm going to put that with my note paper. So I have a whole separate category for that. All right, and then these used pages, I need to find a spot for it. Since I am breaking it down, I probably will combine this with my personal planner so that way personal and work are archived together, just because I only have like 3 months of work and, you know, obviously whatever I have for personal. So I think this should be able to fit into my personal planner. So that's where this is going to go. And so I'm going to set that to the side so I can do that. Now, with all that being said, now we're down to basically the unused, outdated pages. And so this is kind of what I do for this. When I have outdated pages, I like to go through and look at the styles. And so right here we have this style. It has like this floral pattern in the corner. I think you can see that, right? And so I just kind of set it to the side like that with the floral pattern. And then this one has like these polka dot patterns, right? These older dividers with more elements on the page require a little bit more sorting. The current planners, they have more neutral insides. The weekly pages are much more neutral. And so you can kind of like, it's actually, you know, I would still do the same process, but it's a little bit easier to blend them. You won't have quite so many like stacks. But here I'm just going to do these 3. I'm wondering, okay, this is kind of a good place to see this, right? So right here, these elements are the same, but the color here is different. So this already, I mean, it's going to be another stack basically. And so I'll put this stack over here, right? And then here, are we repeating anything yet? No, not quite yet. I'm looking at colors and then the designs here in the margin, and they're not quite repeating yet. So I'm going to keep going. I'll have lots of stacks off screen basically at this point. Okay, and this one goes in here too. All right, this will go right here. Okay, so now I think it's repeating. So you can see here that this page belongs to this page, right? And so even though it might be a different month, I like to put them together. This is actually a back page too. So I like to put the back pages at the very, very back of the little stack. And then the first page at the very front. Okay, so this, I don't have a purple yet. Okay, so I need another pile. Okay, put this, starting to run out of room. Okay, and so this should be repeated. I recall this one. So this is the same here. So the pattern's on the same. And so you can see here the months are different, but when I kind of organize my outdated pages, I like to put the monthly pages, like the second half of the month, those pages together. And then I like to put all the middle pages. So I just flip through where it's like front and back, all those front and back pages. I like to put those together and I just stack them like that. And then the very last page, the one with the currently page on the back, I just stick at the very back of the pile and those go together. And so that's what I do pretty much for all my planners. So this one is the stack right here. So this is the monthly, put that right there. I find all the inner weeks. And of course, if you're, you know, not an organizer, not like me, and you're just like, this is kind of intense, like you don't have to do this at all. It's just that when I use outdated pages, I like to look for seasonal elements together and have enough pages for it. And so sometimes it does require redating like a single page, or like redating like the entire set, but I like to have all the pages look the same. So I don't want to, like, for example, flip from this to this, you know, I want it to be all like blue for the entire month. Okay, and so that's pretty much it. It's all done now, and so I just flip it around. These are all from the same planner, and so I just flip it all around now, and I store them together. That's pretty much it. They will go onto the shelf in kind of these sorted piles, these organized piles sorted by like seasonal elements and color, things like that. And so when I need to pull a month, I basically go into the shelf. And for these seasonal planners, obviously I'm looking for the seasonal design that matches what month I'm in. So for May, I would probably pull like this kind of like this design, just because that feels like May to me, or like maybe the polka dots, right? But I just pull whatever season makes sense for me. And then I count out enough weeks of inner pages to be able to match. So I pull one of these pages and then one of the currently pages, and then I fill in the middle pages with enough weeks. And so that's kind of how it works for me in order to stay organized. And then this just goes on the shelf. And I do put a little, like a sticky note saying that these are lined vertical square goal pages. And so it just sits on my shelf like that. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's how I organize all the things. Oh, I forgot this set right here. So yeah, that's how it goes. And now the only thing that I have to do is figure out what to do with these pages right here, the current pages. And I think just to be able to get them on discs, when I have pages that are unused and current, I like to put them into a Ziploc bag and just kind of save them, but I am trying to use all of my planners now. And so I'm going to go ahead and make the decision to put these on discs and put them into my active system, like all the planners that I am using. And so I'm going to stick this with my personal planner, just like where the already used pages are. I'm going to archive it with my personal planner. I'm also going to put the future months that I haven't used yet. They're just for future months. I'm going to put that in my personal planner as well. So this will go and live in my personal planner. And then just the last thing, I think I just mentioned it in passing, but like if I have unused pages that are in the future, I just put it into a large gallon sized Ziploc bag. So that way I know I have no current plans to use them, but they are still there for me to be able to use and not have to redate things. And so I just stick that into a Ziploc bag and I store that basically with my planners that I am using that I have already set up for 2022. So I put it right there so that way I can see what I have that's just not being used right now. So it kind of makes sense. And every once in a while, I'll just go through and kind of take out the old months. So, you know, if you put in like April through December 2022, you know, every once in a while, you might not use it for April, you might not use it for May. So I just go through and just kind of clean it up to where like it's only the future months. And so that's kind of what I do. But I leave it basically in its setup just off the discs. And so I just stick the entire thing just currently into a bag. And I might do a separate video just to kind of show you what that looks like. But this is me breaking down my work planner, kind of talking you through the process of what I do to organize all of these different components. Since I do Frankenplan, I end up with a lot of different components, as you can see. And so it makes sense to me. I think it can sometimes be a little bit overwhelming for people, but it makes sense to me. So hopefully it made sense to you as I was explaining it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel. And until the next video, bye guys.